Good morning. Our hand today is going to be pocket aces. In this hand, we have an early position player limps, and it folds to me. This player is playing 40-16. We've got over 200 hands on him. His early position stat says his pre-flop raise is 14%. So 3 out of 21, and then limps first in 4 out of 21. So I think he can raise, but he also limps. So I think the raising range is going to be like these hands. Something decent, and then his limping range is probably the rest of these. Now we can kind of narrow it down a little bit, maybe add in the king queen off and like ace jack off and say he'll raise those and then maybe limp with those hands. That's probably realistic. But you can see generally they're drawing hands. So then on me, we look at our isolation raise on the button. I'm just going to go ahead and raise with all of these. This guy's loose. He's limping when he is capable of raising, or when he does raise. And that's different from some other players who really don't have much of a raising range. Like I look at this guy, 58 or 35 and 6. It looks like they basically just limp and call. They hardly ever raise. So, versus those players, I'm going to be a little bit more hesitant to ISO raise with all my hands in this range because they're going to have a lot of strong hands. Whereas a guy like this, where he is raising probably with his good hands, better hands, and then limping with the rest, I think he's got mostly weak hands in his range at that point. So I raised to 5. I think that's pretty standard. And he calls. Now, does he fold any of these hands? I'm going to say yes. He gets rid of some of these hands and just says it's not worth it. So I'm going to go with something like that. Definitely he's keeping the pairs. Most players do. So we see a flop of 9-10 jack. That's not that great. Let's hear 9. Is that right? 9 of diamonds. Yep, 9 of diamonds, 10 of clubs, jack of hearts. A lot of hands. He's going to hit this. You can see just basically on his range, 15% flops a straight, 8% two pair. And then 14% top pair. So he's got at least 23% of the time, 24% of the time, he's got two pair plus, and he's going to have quite a few draws. I think this just hits calling ranges quite a bit. That's not to say that he's always going to hit. He'll have, if we just do a pair plus, you're looking at 72%. If we get rid of those bottom ones and just say, pairing the board with a 9, you're at almost 60%. So he's going to connect. He's going to continue quite a bit. I think we have, basically hoping to dodge a king or a queen and an 8. King, queen, and 8, I think is probably what we're going to be hoping to dodge. Maybe the 7 too. King, queen, 8, 7. That's 4. And so we got 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and the ace. So 5, few more hands that we could catch. So villain checks, I think that's going to be standard. He does donk, but I don't think this is a board that looks like it's going to be a donking board. And I made the C bet. Pots 11.5. Trying to think if we could have sized up or sized down on this. I kind of feel like we're going to be sizing down because we're not going to be ahead by a huge amount on this range. So I think in general, since we're not going to be ahead a large amount, I think we can go smaller. So we can go like four big blinds, or even just 5 instead of half pot. What do we bet? I do think we bet top pair. I think those are for value. Top pair plus. I think we have our open enders are betting. Our gut shots are betting. I don't think we need 2-card backdoor flush draws at all. I'm not even sure if all of our gut shots. Let's get those turned. Not even sure if all of our gut shots are betting. Like the 7, like the 8 is probably the worst card that we can get. So I just feel like those hands probably aren't betting. What about these pairs? Probably also the pairs. No, I think those are going to be part of our checking range. So we've got a lot of draws here. And maybe we don't bet with all of our gut shots. Like maybe these kings. No, oh, forgot A7. That's getting better. That's getting better. I forgot the 7 there. I think that's probably a suitable range. Suitable c-betting range. And he calls. So we're going to give him top pair plus our draws. Middle pair with the 10s. I think that's going to be part of his draws. Where's the one card gut shot? Yeah, he's got king 10, king jack in there, right? Yeah, but not like queen 10. So we're including all of those in the middle pairs as well. So I think he's calling with that. Again, pretty wide range. I think c-betting a little smaller might have been a little bit better. King falls. One of the cards we didn't really care. We had a little less than 50% chance that the king was going to come. Now, villain checks, and we check behind. So I think villain's check is pretty standard. For us, what do we continue betting? What do we start checking behind? I think here we check behind with our sets. I think 2 pair. All of these are going to be checking behind. If we bet our straight. And then I don't think we're doing our open-ender. So we've got a lot of straights. Yeah, maybe we're betting the straights and our flush draws, and then some of these no-made hands, and the weak pairs. These hands that like really can't improve. I think we're gonna probably have to check some of these straights as well, because we're unbalanced. We're not gonna get them. I actually like checking the flush behind. I think I prefer checking the flush here, and straight draws here. And maybe that's what we do. Maybe we just check everything, including our straight. Although, yeah, I think we still bet our straight. I think here, I think we bet like ace queen. Definitely. I think maybe that's what we do. We bet our ace queen, because we've got the nut straight there, and then we bet maybe like pocket queens. Like pocket queens, king queen, maybe queen jack. Just because if we have these hands, it's going to be less likely that villain has them. So it's going to make it more likely that he has like an 8 that might chase with that draw one more time. Rely on bad players. And I think that's probably going to be the play. So with our straights, like 8-7, probably just calling. Let's say we check with all of those, and then we also check with all of those. So what we're going to need to do is kind of X these out. Oops. X those out and get those listed. And that gives us then like all these other hands that we could possibly have. Maybe not all of the no made hands. Those could probably be like bluffs. So we're checking big part of our range, like a rather huge part of our range. But it's because that king connects, and we either hit it and we've got most of the cards that are out there, or we're still drawing and villain might have hit it. River's the 4. If he checks, we're probably gonna. Well, if he checks, 4 was a good card. I think we can go for a little bit of value, and I think at this point we're gonna go for like maybe a top pair plus. We're turning maybe top pair into a bluff, maybe the over pair into a bluff. Probably 2 pair. Question is, what does he do on the river? And I bet we don't have enough hands to really get a good feel for how he plays. Fold to a bet 6 out of 9. Oh yeah, he folds. So at this point, I think we probably bet these hands that we don't think are going to win as a bluff. We bet 2 pair plus, and then we have like our over pair, top pair as like just check down, get some value. We showed weakness by checking that turn, but I don't necessarily think I showed weakness. The board runout was just, it came in a way to where it didn't really help our range, and probably helped his range a little bit. Or at least, if anything, it was more neutral. So we're not like ahead a huge part of the time. I think our equities are going to be close, and we can kind of check that. You could see it was like 51-48. I mean, at this point, we do have our bluffs, and then we're just ahead of very, very little. So, well, yeah, he checks. Would he check everything? That's the question. I kind of feel like he'd bet the straight. Definitely bet the queens. So definitely bet the queens is what I would think. 7-8, he could probably check because he's got the low end of it. But I think he's going to check everything else. Let's get that fixed. So then for us, I think we have a checking hand here. We've already laid out what we could bet. I don't really want to turn aces into a bluff. I don't think we're folding out any better hands. I think if he calls, I don't think he's calling with these pairs. I think he's calling with at least 2 pair plus. So our bet isn't even for value, which means we're just turning our hand into a bluff. So he shows ace jack. Does he have that in his range? Yeah, he does. We have that as, top pair type hand. Well, not top pair. I guess it'd be middle pair here. He called. That's okay. He called the flop. Our run out wasn't that great. I think if we had if we had a 4 come on the turn and he checks, I'd probably bet again, because I think all of those 1-card gut shots, any of the queen, any of the 8, are going to continue, and we want them to continue. They're going to pay us, and I think he does pay us. So what do I think of this hand? I think the hand's okay. I think I played it okay. I think bet sizing could be a little bit better, and just kind of going through this hand, we realize that we're not always going to be ahead, by a large margin with aces. We have to be aware that sometimes the flop just comes, has a run out that really doesn't help aces, and sometimes, like if he would bet big, I don't think we could call with aces. On the river, if he goes in and bets 10, or 12 big blinds, half pot, or even more, I don't think we could call. I think he's betting with his straight. I think we just have to fold aces, and we might not like it because we had such a big hand to start, but the flop changes everything. All right, hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, look tomorrow for another.